let me welcome Carlo Carrenho for this fireside chat. And we titled this segment as the unseen part of the iceberg. And in a way, in this case, I mean, the unseen part is partly publishing technology and partly the global south. And Carlo, I mean, Ilango said briefly who you are and what you do. And I just want to say that Carlos' career journey and personal story in many ways embody the story we try to to say here at the BookTech Collective. First, because he has a truly global and cosmopolitan perspective. So, born in Brazil, moved to Spain, now a Swedish citizen. We are very also glad that we have partnered. I think he has partnered, and Limassol have partnered with Carlo in the context of the European Consortium Think Pump. And also, he has dedicated in many ways his career to understanding and developing digital publishing, both as a consultant, as an analyst, and on a wide range of topics. We mentioned audiobooks, he's also print on demand, and many, many other things. So, Carlo, thank you for joining us today for this very first BookTech Collective online event.
Thank you. First thing, because I'm in not a very developed country, I'm in Düsseldorf, so my internet is actually very bad. I hope it's going to be fine. So far, it's stable, but it wasn't. So if you have any problems, I can try other solutions. But that just shows you a little bit of the stereotypes, right? When you are in Germany and you have internet issues. But yeah, thank you for this nice introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to see BookTech being born and this initiative. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to start in a way with your latest, let's say, endeavor, which is a column called Around the Book World at Publishing Perspectives. I mean, you write this weekly. I have to say that this consistently lengthy and broad and very international. And I have to say that you cover topics that, I mean, some of it may be available if you go around and read every single trade magazine around the globe. Some of it is not that available, and you offer a unique perspective. So, what led you to start with this? Because it is very much on our topic. What led you to start this column, and maybe what led also the new editorial team at Publishing Perspective to include such a column? And what type of stories do you try to tell with around the book world?
So yeah, the column format is a result of not just me, but me and Andrew Albanese, because we kind of create that together. He's being the editor and being the writer. So last Frankfurt, even before Andrew was over Publishing Perspectives, we met and we were discussing me writing a little bit more for another initiative he has called Words and Money. So then when he took over Publishing Perspectives, we took this idea. I really wanted a column because it forces me. I'm a terrible procrastinator. So if it's not a column, I'll never write anything. And now, wow, we are in July and I wrote a column every week, including during Frankfurt, during London Book Fair in Bologna. So I'm even, wow. So that was a little bit how it was started. I always try to read the news all the time from several parts of the world. And there are some particular markets that I have a special love for. Some examples are Japan, Greece, and Poland as well. So the idea was to put together all those deals and make a little comment of it. So if you look at the first columns, they were still a work in process. Now I think we found a voice and a way to do it. Also having at the end of the column have these very short things, but sometimes
the German internet betrayed us, it seems, a little bit. Okay. Let's just wait a moment. Maybe.
And it goes. Am I cutting? Am I back?
Yes, you are cutting, but now you are back.
Okay. So I was telling the process of doing the column, I basically read from 1,000 to 1,500 news per week. Not read, but I look at them, I find them, and I start selecting, put some stuff in my LinkedIn and some stuff for the column. And the idea is I try to avoid English news that everyone's going to read the Publishers Weekly and the bookseller. Why? I don't need to do that. So it's more about, I really try to focus on other markets or other angles. And I think this fits the publishing perspectives today, because the idea in publishing perspectives today is to bring more perspectives into publishing perspectives and to really have opinions and analysis. And I think they're being successful in making that. And the column is just part of this context.
Mm-hmm. So I think, first of all, judging from the comments in the chat, you have many, I would say, readers, regular readers and fans in a way, exactly because you cover angles and places of the world that you regularly are not very well covered. And as we mentioned already in the introduction, you are, a very regular visitor and protagonist at some point. Speaker, audiobook ambassador, and so on, international book fairs or conferences, industry events of all kinds. And one of our thoughts, and we would like your take, is that in a way, of course, publishing technology has evolved. The presence of publishing technology has evolved a lot in international book fairs. Many things have been done. Of course, not every book fair, we are very well aware of that, is not the same. Frankfurt, Bologna, London, or Sharjah are much more different to other international book fairs and so on. And there are a lot of difference between themselves too. So how have you seen the role of technology in international book fairs evolved, I would say? Have they really managed to really include technology in their offering? And maybe what are the possible gaps? What else could be done to make the technology more prominent or more relevant to the publishers? And yeah.
Well, I think, as you said, technology has been more and more present, but it could be better present. And maybe you could have better events and better discussions. Absolutely. But I think that's more a job for the tech community itself to do. So I think you need to understand the book fairs. First, you need to divide the public book fairs. That's a good thing to discuss now with Frankfurt going public, right? But we need to divide the public book fairs from the professional book fairs. So in one extreme of professional book fairs, you have Bologna, where kids are not allowed to get in, even if they want. My daughter did once, but I was very creative to do that. But and then in the other extreme, you have the Brazilian book fair, which is like lots of kids running around. And if everyone asks me, I go, that's very hard to have a professional meeting there because it's all based on public. So first you need to understand that. Then a book fair like Bologna, like London, like Frankfurt, well, they are focusing on rights still. They're focused on publishers, and publishers go there. By publishers, as now I mean the owners of the companies, the high level, the C-suite. They go there thinking more about rights. So sometimes it's hard to get their attention for any other thing. At the same time, in the public book fairs, it's the salespeople, right? They want to sell books. So that's really the focus. So I think that the technology community needs to find a way around it. They are doing this a little bit, but they need to understand that that's the goal of the organizers and the people so far. So, for instance, to talk to, and I worked for tech companies trying to do business development. And if you go to these big book fairs, particularly London, Bologna, Frankfurt, etc., to talk to an owner of a company about something technological, he doesn't want to talk about that there. He's there to buy the new bestseller or to make connections with you, right? So I think you need to understand the mindset of people going there. Also, the tech companies sometimes they don't need to talk to this guy. They need to talk to the IT people from the publishing house, and sometimes they don't go. So when I see events like EDR Labs did in Prague, where it's just IT people, perhaps that might be interesting to have something like that, maybe close to a book fair, because then you can attract some people at the book fair to that as well. or when you see editors event on metadata, I know, but it's really connected with technology today, those two things. Frankfurt on Tuesday, that might be the way to go. But the people that are going there are not the CEOs, even of medium publishing houses around the world. It's more the technical people. So I think it's important to really identify the audience you want, the audience that's going there, and find these spaces to create those things. But it would be great to have more high-level events in or by, I mean, before, just after book fairs with technology. I think the key word to have technology more present is very good events. Not lots of booths with lights, but events. So we had to, I think the service providers, for instance, they have to take a less selling approach or less direct sales approach. Let's do more events and let's do a little bit more of a soft power approach. So that's what I can say. And things like what you guys are doing, like BookTech, is exactly that, because we are trying to get together these people more into the technology and find ways. But the book fairs are not against technology. I think book fairs are for selling booths. That's what they want. Yeah. So if you find something that will allow to sell more booths, bring more people, they of course will be very open to it, I think.
Yeah, for sure there are new means to old ends in a way, new ways of doing things, even for approaching. Let's cover also something else which is really important, and this is also again connected to the column. Let's say, because we talk a lot about global south, the technology from the global south, and so on. I mean, we try, of course, we know this is always a bit of stereotyping. This is a very diverse group. Also, there is a lot of exoticizing sometimes, or treat any case study that's the question is mostly scarcity, few resources, which is not the case. But let's talk about what trends do you see in publishing practice regarding to technology in the global south, and also what kind of tech companies do you see, or maybe give us an example of something that really catched your eye during this reporting.
I think there are two directions of things to mention. One is when the so-called global south, that for me is global southwest a little bit, or east, sorry, it's global southeast a little bit, when things get creative out of necessity. So there is this company in South Africa called Snaplify. Now they are using AI to develop extra materials for educational publishers in Africa. So you are a publisher, but they're using AI, they create other materials, digital stuff, and they are being very successful. It was on my column recently. But a story I actually remember about them is for more than 10 years ago, when they were very involved with ebooks in Africa. And they had these devices and they found a way that people could read ebooks, but there was no internet in some villages. So they create a box that in the same thing had the books and the Wi-Fi. So they create an intranet in the village that people could use just like internet, but the book, everything was in a box. So I thought that was super creative. And that's something that people wouldn't do in France or in other developed countries, because that was not a necessity there. So that's one thing that I think things get creative, because you might have different needs. Or a company in Brazil called TAG. It's a book club, so it's not a technological company, but they had to create their all logistics, their all control system, because they start selling books by subscription in Brazil. And that kind of started because they saw a necessity of people buying books in places where you couldn't find bookstores, and taking advantage of the craziness of social media and digital adoption in Brazil, especially to relate to each other. The World Cup is there to show that to everyone. We create one song, everyone copies in every language in the world, so that's great. But so I think that's one way. The other way is just when these other countries are just ahead. So China and Japan, it's amazing. So China, they have this new thing called, I was surprised, I was reading a report on sales, and there were two kinds of sales. Content sales, that first I thought, oh, that's just selling books. No, but content-led sales, and shelf-led sales. And I had to really dive. Of course, everything was in Chinese. Thank you, AI, for allowing me to read things in Chinese now. So I had to spend some time on this. And then content sales is basically when books are sold by content, by a TikTok movie, a film, by any kind of action, of content action that forces you, pushes one specific book or author to you. And there are, I won't remember numbers now, but there are several examples of doing a session on Chinese TikTok, where, by the way, in China, you can buy directly on TikTok. So you can be watching a video and you just press a button, you buy the product. So that helps. But things like they do it for 2 hours and they sell 100,000 books or something like that. Those are real examples in China. And then they see this as a whole movement. One thing is books sold like this, and the other thing is books sold when the consumer has an option of choosing books in a shelf, be it digital or physical, it doesn't matter. So that was like, wow, that's super interesting. And that could be something, especially if TikTok or some other platforms make a more simple and frictionless way to purchase things. And then in Japan, for instance, the whole thing with manga and digital manga, what they have developed and these platforms, they have manga on each big Japanese group kind of have their platform, and they have these technology companies that develop the whole system, how you're going to consume it, etc. Eventually, they acquire the technology company, or there's some deals there. So I think that's the other way, when simply things are better than Europe and North America. And I see that. And the other ones is that, okay, things are not better. Maybe they're worse. So you need to be creative. And then you come out with very crazy, interesting solutions for the realities of you having in this real deep global south. Let's call it like that. And yes, part of my job at the color is to show these things. I'm very happy when I find something very special in a small country. Oh, that deserves mention. Motala in Uzbekistan. So Motala is a storytell, a platform in Uzbekistan, super successful. They got to 1 million. It was free in the beginning, but they got to 1 million users in Uzbekistan, a country that has very little bookstores and stuff. Amazing, and what they could do there. What was creative about Motala? Well, they found a way to get to government money. The government supported them because they want to increase literacy, but now they're starting to go not just. They're starting to sell and having revenues, and they're becoming a more independent company. So you do have amazing initiatives all over the world.
Thank you for this. And this is also interesting because you really highlighted a case where, Chinese market is leading a trend or creating a new one, right? I mean, it's something we don't have in Europe, for instance. And of course, we have, where less, other trends which are either because there is scarcity or because you are opening more a trend which already exists, but you bring in the localize it in the case of Uzbekistan. So let me, a final question, as we have like 5 minutes or so. Also, another perspective, and this is, of course, difficult also, is what exactly the publisher needs when coming from the global south, emerging markets or smaller markets and so on. Because in a way, there are so many things happening in digital at the same time, from AIs, of course, across the board, but POD, audiobooks, a new business model, whatever. So is there any priority? They have some priorities or some specific needs that should be addressed in priority?
I think there is an opportunity that I'd like to highlight that is more or less in that context. Everyone looks at technology, at AI, as an in the publishing world, as an opportunity for us to publish things in all languages. Let's get all this English amazing content we produce in the UK, in the US, and whatever. And now we can go to all the languages. So the market talks too much about this way, about this direction. And I think technology actually has a much more interesting opportunity as the other way around. Now, if you are a small publisher from the global south, thanks to technology in distribution, in AI, in translation, in artificial voices, you name it, you actually have a shot to go to the developed world and to sell your content there. And to people that didn't even know that you had that, do not speak your language different than English that everyone speaks. So being Brazilian, the World Cup, make a parable. Hey, man, you can be Cape Verde. You can be Curaçao now if you're a publisher and go to the World Cup of publishing and, and score against Germany, or that's a very good example, actually, or not suffer any goals from Spain for 90 minutes like Cape Verde. So that's an analogy, but it's seriously, because I think this more and more this can happen in publishing. So I would love to see more publishers from Africa, from smaller countries in Latin America, from Central Asia. That now, hey, now you know what? I have these books. I had a very hard time selling rights. Now I can actually create something and try to offer to the developed world these stronger markets where there is more money. So one thing that I think these publishers from Global South need to pay attention to technologies, which technologies would allow them to be more global, more international. So instead of just, what is there that I can copy? No. What can I use, or what roads of distribution can I go to actually reach newer markets? I think that's one of the most important things. Also, you need to be careful. Another thing, when you go to this technology, some technologies take place because the labor is extremely expensive and they make sense in the developed world. And sometimes they don't make sense in your world because labor is cheap and you can do it a different way. So it's always be a little bit critical of, okay, this is going to work, this is perfect, but adapt, and bring it to your own reality. I think you need to pay attention to that, but not just consume everything with that criteria, but I think you should be critical and see what works, what could be better, what could be adapted there. So I don't know. That's the thing I would like to say.
No, that's interesting. I mean, of course, adapting to your needs is one thing. It's also going global in a way. It is today actually more possible. There are still challenges, and in a way, it turns the tables, right? I mean, what the story is so far mostly about global players going, entering markets. So, with these comments, I would like Carlo to really thank you for this global perspective. And we were very glad you were part of this very first event. And I'm sure we will see you soon at the book fair or conference or LinkedIn or column. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I apologize in name of the Germans about their internet, but because I'm in Düsseldorf. But yes, it's a pleasure. All the luck in the world for you guys. I think are doing a great job and connecting all these people. It's super interesting. So congratulations, and it's an honor to be part of it.